answer this question, which is, what is the fastest method to dissolve limiting beliefs that have been ingrained in you since childhood? And you know, this isn't related to this question, but sometimes our limiting beliefs aren't even something we physically experienced in this lifetime, and instead it's an energy that we picked up, received from lineage, from our grandparents or our parents. And so oftentimes understanding where these limiting beliefs came from is really challenging when you just think of even your own life, because you're like, I don't know why I feel this way. Well, it could go back farther than that. And oftentimes the techniques that I see to help people release limiting beliefs don't bring that into consideration. And so while everyone's going to respond to different techniques in different ways, so for example, talking to Irene right now, in your question, there may be a technique to release this limiting belief that you've had since childhood that works super well for you, but that doesn't work really well for somebody else listening or for myself. So we all respond to different techniques for healing in a different way. And depending on what the belief is, you may experience better results from one modality than another. So there's many ways to release limiting beliefs. And my short answer is the fastest method to releasing them that you're curious about would be any technique or modality that immediately gets into the subconscious programming. So if you think of your mind, I'm going to draw you a picture. If you think of your mind as the circle, well, we have about 10% of that circle is going to be, I'm going to write C for the conscious mind, and 90% of that circle is going to be UC, which would be standing for the unconscious mind, okay? And unconscious in this case is synonymous for subconscious, that's used more, but unconscious is more accurately the academic term versus subconscious is used more like on social media. So when you think of that limiting belief, well, where is the limiting belief? It's in the 90%. It's something that you feel like you probably don't have control over, and it's probably impacting your life in numerous ways. And it's actually helpful to consider in what ways is this affecting my life. And also inside of the subconscious are all these little positives and negatives. So you can think of these as like experiences that you've had, but also resources that you have, tools, things you've learned, everything that really goes into your programming and your habits and your behaviors that you've experienced, including all your childhood memories. So when you say, okay, limiting belief, I'm going to write that as LB, and you're like, okay, my goal is limiting belief out here. I want to release it. That's my goal. Well, when we change just on the conscious level and we think, oh, I'm going to start thinking something different. I'm going to start thinking about what I do want versus what I don't want, which is a great first step. But what happens when you do that is it's going to bounce off of this line here, which is known as I'm going to write CF, is known as the critical factor of the mind. So here's this limiting belief goal that I want to release, and I'm going to think about changing. Boop, nope. Not going to work. And with repetition, it can, but oftentimes it takes a lot of repetition if you're just trying to change on the conscious level. Versus when you try to release a limiting belief on the unconscious or subconscious level, what that does is, and through techniques that help you get straight into it, is you're essentially creating little openings in the critical factor. So think of these as like little channels that we're opening up. And now you have the same goal to release this limiting belief, but this time, instead of bouncing off the critical factor, because you're using techniques that penetrate the sub or unconscious mind, your little line here, second go with this, is going to go whoop, right? Uh-oh, pen, you better stay with me. I'm almost done. It's going to go straight in. So here we have the same limiting belief that you're trying to release, and it's going to go right through that channel that you've now opened and loosened, and it's going to come into the subconscious where real change can actually happen. And so things happen during that time. So let's say this little guy right here is that exact limiting belief that you have associated or programmed into your mind. Well, now that you're in the subconscious, which is also where all of the change and motivation to change in your life live in this part of your mind, we can literally, see if I can do this, change that limiting belief into a positive. Done. So think about how much faster, this is to answer your question, how much faster is it to release this limiting belief that's been here for almost my entire life? Is going to be way faster to just loosen this critical factor, get into the subconscious, change it to a positive, versus consciously trying to shift and shift and shift and shift. And who knows how many times it's going to take you to maybe get through at some point, but maybe never. We don't know. So this is my very fancy diagram to help you understand why the fastest method to dissolve limiting beliefs, like you asked about, Irene, is to work on the subconscious level. Again, there's numerous ways to do this, one of which would be timeline therapy, another of which would be hypnotherapy. There's also intuitive techniques and guidance that can help you go through. And part of the process that works best for me and my clients is also understanding how this belief is impacting your life. So on the conscious level, you also get ready to actually change. So there's many ways, but as a whole, always working in this 90% in the unconscious is going to get you the fastest results. That is for sure. Cool. Thanks for the question. It was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed my diagram. I'll see you soon.